Here we have a tuck pot made of antique crochet lace. There is also a vintage tassel with some buttons. There is this sweet envelope. Inside there are plenty of post stamps with some beetles, butterflies, etc. This pocket here is of fabric with silk embroidery. This is mechanical weaving, sorry, embroidery, something like this. There is this very nice French wine label. This gorgeous embossed antique trading card. Here there is a tuck spot of eco-printed silk ribbon from Penelope's child store that I will include the link. Here there is a journaling card with some bugs, which this image comes from a vintage book. Here it is, Guide du promeneur dans la nature, how to translate it, nature hiker guide, something like this, from 1978. Yeah, and I really like this thread, which comes from an antique ledger, in fact, and this button. And here to the right there is a tuck spot made from an antique triangular lace doily with another post stamp with the beetle. To continue the topic, there is a chocolate trading card. There is some space for journaling, which I have embellished with some leather. And a few pages. This is their natural aging patina from a vintage notebook. Here there are some pressed leaves, another ledger page, another page from the Victorian Flower Album by Henry Terry, the book that I have shown you already. An antique document with some lace trim. This is gorgeous Stamperia forest rice paper. Another part from the book The Fairy Tale Tom Thumb. Here we can see inside a scrap, a trim from an antique silk velvet panel. We will see its continuation later on. This is an image from the vintage Dutch book I have shown you from 1970s. Another book from the medicinal plants or wild plants vintage books that I have shown you. This is a vintage paper doily, and this page comes from a book, copies of letters, where the pages are numbered. As you can see, it's very delicate onion skin, that's the way it is called, paper, with some very delicate lace trim here. A vintage postcard, an antique document from 1912. I really liked its colors. The continuation of the fairy tale Tom Thumb. Here there is a vintage handmade embroidery, which you can enjoy from both sides. The continuation of the antique paper from 1907. I really adore its rich motifs and colors. To the right here there is a tuck spot made of a vintage cuff, I believe, that I bought from Sylviane Bleu d'Orage on Instagram. I will include the link. She has very beautiful, many beautiful things, old laces, ephemera, etc. There is a small vintage paper. No, sorry. It's 1850 antique paper. An antique trading card. Here we have the continuation of the Victorian flower album by Henry Terry, and I have included to the right a real pressed lily of the valley with its leaf, and a scrap from an antique 19th century wallpaper. Here there is a tuck spot that I have made using this lavish French wine label with a ladybird, and here we have a vintage delivery slip, something like this, which I have embellished with the ladybird. Here there is a pocket of very fine lace with a vintage invoice, flowers invoice, a florist specializing in chrysanthemums, something like that. There is another vintage or antique trading card, and this tag here, for making it I have used just an old handwritten scrap. There is a napkin decoupage image, a scrap of black velvet. We will come to it. Some old lace, a vintage glass button. Here, the tuck spot, or the rather pocket to the left, I have made it, I have used this French beer label. I have put inside some antique and vintage ephemera pieces. Here to the right there is an antique photo album frame page. You can see these golden details. This is also silk velvet, antique lace, and behind there is this gorgeous image. This is a postcard which was written and sent in 1908, and it represents a reproduction of the painting by Louis Jeanmont, Fleur de Champ, from 1845, which is exposed, this painting, in the Lyon Fine Arts Museum. You can see a part of this card behind. I have also added this gorgeous silk raw edges trims. This silk comes from the same silk scarf from which I am using the ribbon for the closure of this notebook, of this journal. Here there is some antique marbled paper with gorgeous colors. Here there is a small shallow pocket with some more lace, with another French wine label. Here there is a page from a vintage French songbook, which fits very well, in my opinion, into this forest theme. There is a page from the nature hiker's guide that I have shown you. Here to the right there is another page from the antique French ledger from 1789, to which I have hand stitched this very nice delicate flower applique lace. Here to the right there is an authentic drawing by a child from 1916. It comes from this album. At the background, this is an authentic, a real pressed leaf. To the right, there is a page. This scrapbooking paper comes from the Ukrainian brand Fabrica Decor summer botanical diary collection, something like this. This is the texture paste from the same Ukrainian brand. I will include everything in the list. Here there is a kind of small notebook which has a small surprise. Here it's a small pocket. There is an antique chromolithographic image inside. This sweet girl's image is from another trading card, and this very soft silk velvet leaf with this sweet mother of pearl button is also from the antique hat maker's store that I have already mentioned. So here we have this gorgeous scrapbooking paper. To the right I have stitched an extract from the Histoire des Plantes, the antique plants history book from 1880 that I have shown you. There are some pressed flowers, some antique lace, napkin découpage B, an antique ledger page. Here there is also this gorgeous rich antique lace pattern with some fussy cuts of butterflies from the gift wrapping paper. Here there is an antique bear chair from, sorry, it's vintage, it's the 1929. This is a vintage embroidery. I've made kind of fussy cut and I have sealed it with some glue from the back. This is the continuation from this share. It's another part, and this is another part of this embroidery. There is also a small card. So here there is a lavish, very beautiful, very delicate antique lace triangular tuck spot, and this gorgeous antique postcard. I cannot see the year here, it's quite old, and very, very beautiful and rich, as you can see. Another small pressed flower. Here is the continuation of the antique drawing that we have seen already. To the right there is some crochet lace tuck spot and a paper clip. I have used some silk velvet to protect the paper and to embellish this page. I will put it back later. And I have embellished this paper clip with a I am trying to untie it. In fact, it's like this. There is this Bohemian glass bead, a charm, and an antique tassel. It's from the 19th century. Here inside there is a page from the book Medicinal Plants that I have shown you. At the back there is a scrap with the silk. This is a silk fabric scrap with this flower, some antique lace trim, and in the pocket to the right there is a very beautiful French champagne label, a romantic lady postcard, a document, it's an invoice or something from 1907, more marbled paper, this pocket and some stamping. This pocket here is from the 1890s school homework notebook that I have shown you. Inside there is a vintage or antique postcard for this child. At the back we have a smaller pocket of antique linen, an old trading card, and here there is a vintage metal pin with an antique crochet flower, glass button, and a velvety soft fabric leaf from the antique hat maker store that I mentioned already. And actually this pin can be taken off and it can be worn as a brooch or embellishment for clothing or for a bag. Here to the right, there is a tuck spot of very old fabric that I am using also for the hidden spine, some antique lace, and there is a journaling card for which I have used another image of a fairy from the vintage book that I have shown you. There is this some silk ribbon and a very beautiful leaf that it can be taken off and used whenever you feel like, from the antique hat maker store. At the back there is an 1848, something like that, ledger with some empty space as well, which can be used for journaling. There is also a vintage train ticket and a blank vintage envelope. Here, the page to the left is decorated with a page from an antique book, La Ferme de Bernine. And to the right, there is something absolutely extraordinary. This is a silk ribbon embroidery from the 19th century on black silk velvet. I find this is absolutely beautiful. It's beautiful to look at, but it's absolutely unbelievable to touch it as well. There is a small document, vintage document to the right. I thought that its colors would fit perfectly with these flowers. Some very delicate, thin lace. There is another antique drawing here. You can see the pressure of the pencil. Here I have attached an antique lace applique, another page from the vintage book, medicinal plants or wild plants, I do not remember, from 1980s. Here we have two pockets of fabric with an authentic vintage photo and a page. You recognize the style, I can imagine. It's Edith Holden, but a French edition, Le Journal Retrouvé. Here there is a spread that I have entirely decorated with a vintage wallpaper. There are kind of secret pockets here. This is also very old lace. And here there is an antique chromolithographic image of a lady. From another side there is an antique postcard. And I have also included here a bookmark with the same wallpaper. Behind there is an antique ledger extract from 1880s. And this is a handmade ceramic beetle bead. Unfortunately, I would not be able to tell you exactly where I bought it, because I bought it many years ago. I think it goes perfectly well with the colors here. So from this side, there is a tuck spot made of a vintage photo album in black. An image from the one of the two vintage plants books, a scrap from gift wrapping paper, this sweet postcard from 1929. To the right, there is a vintage lotto card with a scrap from a vintage collar. Here, this tender multi-layered page to the right includes some tuiles. There is a silk trim here. There is some rice paper, and there is some vintage onion skin paper here. And here you can see the back. You can recognize the berries from the drawing. Yeah, here is its second part. Another part of the vintage document. Another part of this lavish silk ribbon embroidery on silk velvet. It's gorgeous also from behind, I would say. And there is a belly band here, a tuck spot of gorgeous black lace, and a very beautiful image, a very beautiful journaling card that I have embellished with another Pre-Raphaelite painting. This is a painting by John Everett Millais from 1874, Miss Evelyn Tennant. This part here, this fabric comes from the same fabric as the spine. There is a beautiful silk ribbon bow here, which can be taken off, of course. And I have added a Bohemian glass bead. It's on a small pin. It can be taken off as well. And we are approaching the end. The last spread here contains two belly bands with beautiful white embroidery that I also bought from Sylviane Bleu d'Orage, that I will include the link. There is some old paper scrap here and a vintage paper in this tuck spot here. Sorry, I have almost forgotten something here. There is this beautiful vintage bird trade card, I believe. And that is it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you did enjoy it. Thank you very much. Hope to see you soon. Bye bye.